Every game developer who makes games out of passion wants one thing: money. Not to get rich, not to flex, but simply so they don't have to worry about bills while building the game they actually want to make. And in theory, if you remove the financial stress, nothing should stop a developer from creating an amazing game. No rush deadlines, no cut content, no half-baked mechanics. But is that really true? Because if having more money automatically meant making better games, then AAA studios should be unstoppable. They have the budgets, the teams, the technology, the marketing, everything indie devs dream of. Yet, somehow, the industry is going through one of the strangest shifts ever. Indie games are rising and AAA is slipping. So what's happening? Why are small teams, sometimes even solo developers, create experiences that hit harder, sell better, and stay relevant longer than games backed by hundreds of millions of dollars? Well, let's take a look from the perspective of a gamer and a game developer. If you rewind 10 years, an indie game going viral felt like a miracle. You basically had to be superhuman to make something that broke through. Think Stardew Valley or Minecraft. Those games weren't just polished, they were unique, irresistible, and rare. Now when an indie title blows up, it doesn't feel like a fluke anymore. Meanwhile, it's getting harder and harder for AAA games to meet players' expectations. Why? Well, the obvious answer is, making games is easier than it's ever been. Back then, resources were scarce. Game development isn't just coding, it's art, music, design, polishing, and the fewer people you had, the harder everything became. But today, tools, tutorials, and communities are everywhere. Add AI into the mix, and the barrier shrinks even further. Whether you love it or hate it, you can now ask something like, how do I make
a device that goes pew pew?
Or why does this code throw an error? And get an instant, usable answer. You can even tell it something like, I know nothing about music, where do I start? And get a roadmap plus tutorial links in seconds. The math is simple. The smaller the obstacle, the more people cross to the other side. More devs equals more experiments, and more experiments means more chances for breakout hits. If a decade ago it was like one AAA game versus 100 indie games, now it's closer to 1 versus 1000. But that's not the whole story. Just because you suddenly have 10,000 new indie games doesn't necessarily mean they all succeed. In fact, most won't. It's still very hard to make a game. I actually recently made a video talking more in depth about this topic. But despite all that, there's something that indie devs do that genuinely surpasses AAA studios. While the big studios pour their energy into figuring out how to maximize profit, indie devs are usually focused on something completely different: maximizing fun. Most breakout indie hits are made by people who genuinely love games. They are made by gamers for gamers. These devs create things they would enjoy playing, not what the marketing team predicts will sell. Look at Team Cherry. They spent roughly 7 years working on Silksong. Not because they were chasing quarterly revenue targets, in fact, they were already set for life, well beyond needing another paycheck. It's because they were having too much fun building it. That level of passion is almost impossible inside a giant corporation where deadlines, shareholders, and live service roadmaps choke out creativity. And if that's not enough for reduced creativity, now compare that to certain AAA studios, the ones who releases the same franchise 15 different times, each version barely different from the last, all designed to squeeze one more drop of money out of players without offering anything new. You know exactly who I mean. Indie games might not have the flashiest graphics, the biggest open worlds, or 100 motion captured NPCs, but they have something far more valuable, something that feels alive, because someone cared enough to make it that way. A soul. But on the other side, AAA studios clearly did something right. I mean, they are the giants that everyone knows by name. They drew in millions of players, built iconic franchises, and dominated the market for decades, even while releasing their fair share of mediocre titles. So, what changed? What happened to the machine that once looked unstoppable? And why is it now, of all times, that the cracks are finally starting to show? Well, just like AI helped indie devs learn faster and work smarter, it also changed how big studios operate. Tasks that used to require thousands of artists, animators, designers, and testers can now be done by a team a fraction of the size. Imagine what a few great artists can accomplish when backed by powerful AI tools that help speed up repetitive parts and enhance their workflow. On paper, that sounds great, until you remember how most AAA work environments actually are. When a studio reduces staff because AI can handle the rest, the remaining developers don't get an easier job, they get a heavier one. More workloads, less time, tighter deadlines, and you know what that means. More bugs that slip through, more missing polish, and more games that feel like they were released 2 years too early. But that's not even the biggest problem. AAA studios at their core are businesses. Their number one goal is profit. And when your priority is profit, you stop taking risks. Innovation becomes a threat, and experiments become too risky. You start making games that look exactly like the last successful game. Or you make sequels. Lots of sequels. Because sequels are safe. So, instead of something new, we get another massive open world filled with side quests that exists purely to distract you from the fact that the game is basically empty. I don't need a map the size of a continent if every quest is collect 10 rocks or follow this NPC slowly while they talk. Players want new experiences, new mechanics, new ideas, not the same formula stretched across a bigger and bigger world. And to be fair, that doesn't mean AAA studios never make creative games. They do. It's just becoming rare. And you can clearly see that when you look at franchises like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed. They are not bad games, but they've been hit with a ton of criticism for being predictable, offering basically the same experiences every year with slightly different flavor. Meanwhile, games like Red Dead Redemption 2 or The Witcher 3 drop you into worlds that feel alive. They're not just maps, they're experiences. And then you look at the pricing. Studio games keep getting more expensive, sometimes way more expensive than your average indie game. Yet the experience doesn't always grow with the price tag. So why not look elsewhere? This is where indie games shine. Indie games give you something unique, something fresh, because the people making them aren't afraid to stray from the easy path. They don't have shareholders breathing down their neck telling them to make it more like last year's version. They make what they want to make. It's art in the purest sense. Instead of sticking to a predefined style, they build their own. Maybe it borrows pieces from other styles, sure, but the end result is something unmistakably theirs. And honestly, that's exactly what's missing from a lot of AAA releases today. And speaking of creativity and taking risks, I'm currently working on my first commercial game, Sky Defense, with little to no money. It's a mix of Battlefield style deck building and roguelike mechanics, but in a tower defense setting. If that sounds like something you would enjoy, you can try it out on my Patreon. I also post my YouTube videos there 2 days early and completely ad-free. But yeah, anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, a like and subscribe would really help push it through the algorithm, and I would love to hear your thoughts on the whole indie game versus AAA topic down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.